Our next guest, right, so Calliese Connor. I've had so many good things to say about her, I've had to write them all down, just so you know, okay? And before I go on, the recovery journey is really personal for everybody. If there was a one-size-fits-all approach to this, we wouldn't have a job and it would be really easy. It's very difficult and we all have different needs at different times. But for some people, a successful outcome might be just maybe improving the quality of their life by reducing the amount of alcohol and drugs that they consume. For some people, it might be complete abstinence or sobriety. For others, it really depends. But we need to create support systems that allow those options to happen. Our next speaker takes our theme of more than that to a whole new level, okay? I've had the pleasure of getting to know Calliese and her mum, Neetha, and more recently, Nana, who's up there as well. Hi, Nana. Over the last 2 years, she's a powerhouse of a Texan woman, and she's got a really powerful story to tell. So Calliese and her mum, Neetha, founded and co-founded the Recovery Coach Academy based in the UK. And their vision to create a recovery-fluent society fits in very much with our own ethos. They have trained a number of our staff to be professionally accredited recovery coaches, the first of their kind in Northern Ireland, with more in the pipeline. So it gives me nothing but great pleasure to welcome Calliese to the stage. So a big round of applause. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. I do have to say that Ryan Airline has a really strict baggage limit, so I wasn't able to bring gifts, unfortunately. But I'm here, so that's really great. I want to start off and say, my mom, she is here. She spoke last year, which was very amazing. And she says, I am going to move mountains, and I am this pocket rocket. Yet often I am seen as devalued. I am not noticed or acknowledged, and often we'll discuss that later. When I moved to England, I felt a little bit like this. I mean, I don't know about y'all, but in my recovery journey, I felt like this many times. Can anybody relate? It's a bit overwhelming and confusing, and which way do we go? And I've been passed from pillar to post often. But there's hope, that's what I always say. And whenever I moved from England, I was 23 years old. I had just completed 90 days in a rehab, and I was looking for people to believe in me. I had just gotten off the plane, and I'm like, I'm gonna change the world, right? I'm gonna help people because I've just found recovery, and I wanna give that to other people. So I started to Google, as we do, looking for support, and all I found was this one drug service. So I immediately thought, they must be really good at what they do. Or they've got a really great marketing budget. Let's just say it's the marketing budget. So I went to the drug service saying, I want to change all this. In Texas, we had intensive outpatient programs. We had sober livings. We had recovery communities. We had support for families, grandparents raising grandkids. It was a buffet of options. And I believe people need all options. Whenever somebody experiences something in their recovery journey 2 years down the line, a year down the line, who is going to support them? So I went to this drug service and I said, I've just moved here from Texas. I'm 96 days in recovery and I need some support. They said, you've already received more support than what we can offer you, but if you go out and pick up today, we can put you on the wait list for a 12-week program. So how's that supposed to help me? I've just moved countries. I don't even know how to ride a bus, y'all. I'd never ridden a bus before. My mom, she says, just walk down to the bus stop and hop on the bus. She didn't tell me to put my hand out, so I sat there for 4 hours. So we learned a lot in our experience in England. So I decided, you know what, I'm gonna change this system because if they can't offer me support, somebody has to be able to do something. So I was hired to manage the recovery cafe. I then moved up to a support worker role, and then I thought, the higher I get up, then I'll have more power to create change, right? No. The higher you went up, the worse it got. And whenever I was interviewed, I told them, I said, look, this is what I want to do. And then they said, no, you're here to check the boxes. This is what you do. This is it. In all honesty, 2 years into my recovery, I went into the worst depression I've ever been in my life. I was belittled, I was devalued, and I'm just thinking, this is an organization that is supposed to support people in recovery, and this is how we are treating them? Where does that go? But there's still fire in my belly. So I'm like, great, next thing. You see all these lived experience recovery conversations, experts by experience, bring it. We want to hear what you have to say. I thought I was going to go to tables and be part of the conversation, something like this. Wow, I'm going to be seen, I'm going to be heard, I'm going to be valued. I'll never forget the first one I went to. I spoke up and said, these are some ways that we could be providing support. And an academic researcher said the same exact thing I had said, and all of a sudden people were like, yes, exactly. Let's just say that this happened. So every time I went to a meeting, I was always put on mute. But let me say, whenever you do not have an opportunity to speak, you have a lot of time to listen and notice what is being said and notice what is not being said. So I have a lot of notes. And and let's be honest, I felt like this. There are days that I can be really feisty. My mom says I am very feisty. I like to say she is the storm, she's the calm and I am the storm. Because I think we need to have conversations. And how we make people feel says a lot about what we do. At Recovery Coach Academy, we talk about the way we treat people in one of three ways. So we treat people as an object. And this goes in all relationships in your life, whether it's your children, your workplace, the person you buy your coffee from. So we can treat people as an object, and we see this every day in society. Criminal justice systems, police, doctors, GPs. I mean, y'all, I'll be completely honest, and I tell my son, you gotta eat your broccoli. No conversation about it. I do sometimes treat my child like an object. And then we also talk about the way we treat people as a recipient. And I always like to say, has anybody, like at your organization, the boss says, hey, bring all your ideas. I'd love to hear what you have to say. You get all excited, you do your homework, you come in prepared, and you pitch your idea, and the boss says, yeah, that's great, but. Has anybody gotten the but before? I've gotten the but many times. And last week I was delivering a training. I always say my role as a facilitator is to facilitate a conversation. Y'all are the experts in the room. I'm merely just a facilitator. One of the girls in there, she said, I think our drug services treat us like a recipient. I said, tell me more. She said, how many times do we see drug services and they say, a custom care plan for you? It's a personal recovery plan for the individual. She says, then we end up all on the same 12-week program. We all get the same rules. We all get discharged at the same time. There was nothing custom or personal about the plan in the first place. So we're just another passive recipient. And then we talk about the way we treat people as a resource. Treating people as a resource is a worthy goal and something we should all be working to. When we treat people as a resource, their productivity and their self-esteem increases. I'll never forget the first time I keep pointing to my mom because she's over there, by the way, and we work together. She said, I pitched this idea. I said, Mom, let's do this. And she says, okay, go on. And I was like, what do you mean? Like, I'm trying to over-justify, I'm trying to explain anything. She goes, Calliese, I trust you. Get on with it. And I was so in shock because it was the first time somebody believed in me. I didn't have to over-justify myself. I didn't have to prove myself. Let me tell you, I worked really hard on that. I over-delivered. I overperformed because I showed up. I was proud that somebody believed in me. I felt like I was capable, I was strong, I was worthy, I was smart, I knew what I was doing because I was used to working in services that told me what I had was not good enough. So I want to talk to you about the first time, whenever people really started to believe in me. So about 2 years ago, I told my mom, I said, how can Faces and Voices of Recovery UK say they are representing all the Faces and Voices of Recovery UK whenever there's nobody young on their board? Where is the diversity? Where is the inclusion? Where's the family members, different race, genders, whatever? And she says, what are you going to do about it? It's like picking at it. What you going to do about it? Why don't you join the board? I said, Mom, they will eat me up like a shark tank Mind you, I'm like 25 years old at this time. She says, why don't you start with the conversation? So I called the CEO of Favor UK, and I explained it to her. I said, how can you say this? What can I do to help? How can I advocate for young people to be at the table, to be part of the discussions, because it is our future? She says, ooh, that's interesting. So she invited me to the board meetings. I sat on a couple, and now I'm proud to say that I'm the youngest board member for Faces and Voices of Recovery UK and have been for 2 years. I want to introduce you to Mimi Coffee. Can y'all see? I don't know if you can see her very well, but this is a billboard in downtown Dallas. So whenever I had many drug charges and driving while intoxicated charges, and after my first one, I saw this billboard and I was like, she looks cool. Look at her. She looks like a woman who knows what she's talking about. She's got a cowboy hat. She's got a cigar hanging out of her mouth. Plus, I think her line is pretty funny. Her last name is Coffee. Like, this is perfect for her. And so I called her. She said, Calliese, you're fine. Just don't get in trouble. 6 weeks later, I'm so sorry, Mimi. I've got another DWI. She said, oh my gosh. But she believed in me. She set me down. She was the first person in the criminal justice system who set me down and talked to me like a person. She is a lawyer. That is not her job, but she was an ally for recovery. She set me down. She said, this is where you're headed. You are better than this. What kind of parent do you want to be to your child? She built a relationship with my mom. And still, to this day, she emails me on my recovery birthdays and says, I believe in you and I'm proud of you. That's what happens when we believe in people. Laura Waters. Oh, Laura. So I've known Laura for 3 years now. And this year, in April, I lost my best friend of almost 10 years. She was 8 months sober. She was also living in Colorado, so she smoked marijuana. Her pathway of recovery is different. That does not mean she is not in recovery. We started our recovery journeys at the same time. We would make jokes about rehabs, intensive outpatient programs, and share our stories. I lost my best friend due to this addiction. And now I am lonely. I will be completely honest with you. Who do I call to speak to? That's not my mom, because, we got to have some distance and boundaries. And I needed some support. So I always say, whenever I'm facilitating training, how can I support others on a journey of self-discovery and self-improvement if I myself am not willing to do the same? So I'd sent Laura tons of WhatsApp audio messages, and I'm like crying, and I'm like, I don't know what's going on, and I think I need some support. And I said, I think I need somebody to walk with me a little bit closer to help me find clarity in all of this. Y'all, my core was ripped apart. This was my best friend of almost 10 years. So I called Laura, and she says, I believe in you. We're gonna get through this together. I'm here to support you. And I think it's important too that I talk about Laura because I am a recovery coach professional. I also see a recovery coach professional. And I think we should normalize that it is okay for us to work in this industry and get support for ourselves too, because I'm not healed. I'm on a continuous journey, and there's always something going on that I should probably be looking at. Don Koyas. So Don Koyas is the founder of White Bison and the Wellbriety movement. He creates addiction groups and recovery supports for the Native American communities in the US. He has been around since the 90s. The man is 81 years old, still kicking it and still spreading hope. I hope I can be like that one day. And I recently got to speak to him in Iowa at the Multiple Pathways of Recovery conference. And we were talking, and he said, tell me about what you're doing. And I just told him, and I said, P.S., we share all of your resources and all of your papers with our community at RCA because we want them to know about all different pathways of recovery. And he said, you're telling me I'm in the UK? And I'm like, yeah, you're in the UK? He says, how can I help you? This is a leader in the recovery community that looked at me like a person and said, how can I help? He has heart, he has humility, he has empathy and compassion, and he is still opening his hands to bring others up and raise them up. That is our role. He says, "You're a coyote. You're going to cause good trouble." I said, "What is a coyote?" And I'm telling you, I'm not telling this story as great as he did, but he says, "You know those people that yap, challenge the system. Why are we doing that? When are we doing that?" He says the boss comes into the office, he gets behind his desk, and he's hiding from this person because this person's always at it. He was like, "You're the coyote." He was like, "You need to continue." He said, "Coyotes don't die, they breed other coyotes." When we talk about this, when we advocate, when we have these conversations, people feel inspired. People feel this, like we say, transform people, and they continue to do the work themselves. Phil Valentine, he is the executive director of CCAR, the Connecticut Community for Addiction and Recovery. He has been in this work for 25 years. I think he actually became the executive director when I was 3. Just saying. And he is humble, he is kind, he always says, "I believe in you." In 2020, whenever we wanted to start Recovery Coach Academy, because we were told only, Americans struggle with addiction or need recovery coaches, we were like, okay. He said, "I believe in you. If you build it, they will come, and we will help you." Now, we hear the quote, "If you build it, they will come," all the time at speeches and meetings. But how often do you hear, "And we will help you"? Y'all, he is a leader. I forget how much influence he has. Whenever I'm around him, people are like, "Oh, can I take your picture?" We send dad jokes to each other. That's what kind of relationship we have. We talk about fishing, and he's on this mudwater kick, but he believes in me. And I could go on and on about the people who have believed in me, who continue to raise me up, who continue to challenge me with love and push me out of my comfort zone. Gaz, last year he pulled me aside saying the same thing, and then he says, "Hey, you're going to speak on the stage this year." That's a leader. That's somebody who believes in us. And I can't have this conversation. Well, one, often people say we are on the sidelines or we're just watching and seeing what's happening. Other people are watching. What we do, people are watching. I'll never forget, I guess it was a year ago, I walk into the kitchen and my mom's on the floor. And I'm like, "Mom, you okay there? What's going on?" She said, "Qatar, the government of Qatar has just called. They said, we have been watching what you've been doing for a year or whatever. We want you to come over here and do the same thing. Can you bring recovery coaching and recovery communities to the country of Qatar?" Wow. So when we started Recovery Coach Academy, we wanted to create a local impact. We did not know that we would be creating a global impact. So you never know the seeds that you are planting and where those can go. And I have to say, my family. We are a family in recovery. This picture was taken the day we flew from Texas a little over 5 years ago. And that's where we started. And I have to say, I wouldn't be able to do it without these 2 women. We are 3 women, 3 generations. I know I always haven't been easy to love. In fact, I've been very difficult at times. And to be here today and standing in front of all of y'all just goes to show what is possible. 5.5 years ago, I made my Nana feel uncomfortable in her own home. That was the impact of my addiction. I could not stay with my grandma because she felt scared of me. She walked around on eggshells. Today we have a beautiful relationship, and she came, y'all. She came because she wanted to be here to support her granddaughter, to learn, to see what's possible. And my mom too, like I said, she pushes me and challenges me with love. And it has been a very rocky road. I'm going to be completely honest. Whenever I moved to England, I'd never lived with my mom. Y'all, 4 generations under one roof. It's a little chaotic and crazy, but it's full of love and heart. And this is what we do. People often ask me, "Calliese, so you're just a trainer? You just deliver recovery coach training?" And I don't know how to say exactly what I do. But all I can tell you is I watch miracles happen. I get to watch transformations and people's hearts and minds open up, and they see what is possible, and they're finally given permission to do the work they've wanted to do. And that's it. I can't tell you because I'm still searching for the words to explain what I do, but whenever I facilitate a training, people come in and the walls come down and they all of a sudden are like seen and heard and valued, and everything they thought was possible finally becomes reassured that you can do this, and we're going to walk this journey with you and support you. So I want to talk to you about what it looks like when we believe in people at Recovery Coach Academy. This is Willem. So Willem had actually already attended the Recovery Coach training we do, but wanted to learn more about what we do here in the UK because we're CPD accredited, and I met Willem at the end of last year. And then we got to know Willem. I remember having a Zoom with him, and he's like, wait, you're just going to share this with me? And I was like, yeah, of course. He said, wow. And then we went to, I'm probably not saying this right, Gloucestershire. Anyways, we went to Gloucestershire, had dinner, and he's like, wow, you're the first people that believe in me. He's actually delivering like some workshops, Recovery Capital workshops for Recovery Coach Academy this evening. And my mom and I, we said, do you want us to be there? Or do you want us to not, would you feel more comfortable if we didn't show up? And he's like, you know what, normally I'd say no because people will pick at me and nitpick at what I might do wrong. He goes, but y'all believe in me, y'all love me, y'all support me. I would love to have y'all with us. This is just another example of what it looks like when we believe in people. I had a 24-year-old call me last week. He said, I've been speaking to all these commissioners and going to this commissioning training, and I'm ready to make a huge impact, and I don't know where to start. 24 years old. He says, and I understand I only have less than a year in recovery. I said, whoa, buddy. You know, I could see a lot of myself in him. I was young, trying to make a huge impact, had the fire in my belly. And he said, I said, first of all, can you tell me why you're saying only? You're only less than a year in recovery. And I said, and he went on to tell me his story. He said, well, yeah, it started like 2 years ago. And he said, but that's it. I've been told that I'm not a year in recovery, so I can't say anything. I said, first of all, when you say only, you devalue your experience. You did not forget everything. And he goes, oh, no, of course not. And I said, so what if you said, my recovery journey started 3 years ago, but I've sustained recovery for almost a year? He said, ooh, that sounds different. That makes me feel a lot better about myself. And I said, I believe in you, but please don't devalue yourself. It's little things, the conversations we have. Meet Dalvina. Dalvina is a community hustler, a hope dealer. She is all over the place. She's engaged in water swimming and all of these different things, and she's always doing stuff. And whenever she started doing training with us, she'd send me pictures of her homework, and she's like, is this good? Is this okay? And I'm like, yes, what you have is enough. I believe in you. I asked her, I said, can I put you on my presentation? Because you're somebody I think about whenever I think about believing in people. She said, of course. She said, you have shifted something in me, and I am starting to believe in myself. That is what changes within people when we believe in them. So I want to leave you with a couple things before I go. My role as a recovery coach professional is to meet people where they are. I do not come with an agenda. I'm not wearing a suit, and I don't have any paperwork. I like people, not paper. Just saying it really short. If we show up and we meet people where they are, we're more likely to walk with them on that journey to where they want to be. It's really easy. Well, for me, anyways. We always say at Recovery Coach Academy, do what is right. Any decisions it comes to, we're like, are we doing what is right? With respect, integrity, gratitude, honesty, and transparency. In my recovery, honesty matters. Transparency matters. Showing up matters. These are simple principles that are in my recovery, but we can also incorporate them into the work we do. Be courageously curious. You know, I don't assume I know anything. I don't assume what people's pathway of recovery is or where they want to be or where they're headed. Two of the most powerful questions we can ask in our role as a recovery coach professional is, what does recovery look like to you? And how can I help you with your recovery today? Keep it simple. My coach, Phil Valentine, he likes to say, no matter what, continue. I like to just say, let's be kind and continue. I personally feel like we're in a compassion crisis right now. Everybody is looking for their own I statements, feeding their own egos. What happens if we just showed up and care a little bit more? So no matter what, be kind and continue. At Recovery Coach Academy, we talk about the art and science of recovery coaching. The art is simply the ability to care more. The science is your training, motivational interviewing, all of the other stuff that goes with it. This is a human role. You know, I do not, like I said, I do not show up behind a desk. I don't have a stack of paperwork and I'm not wearing a suit. I show up as myself. I like to say, if you got the heart, you got the art. It's the hard work and the hard work. And, you know, earlier we had a speaker that talked about love, and I was like, yes, she knows what we're talking about. The secret ingredient is always love. I do not show up with an agenda. I meet people where they're at, and I love them. Whenever my best friend died, before I would have told you all these beautiful definitions of multiple pathways of recovery, when at the end of it, I didn't care if she called herself in recovery, if she wanted to say she was in recovery. I just wanted her to be happy and healthy, and I loved her anyway. I love those people that I support. I love my recovery coach. And this is a ripple effect. It can't be done alone, you know, so join the conversation, get involved, and you can all be part of the solution.